After the collapse of THQ and the pickup of the Homeworld IP, Gearbox Software went to lots and lots of PAX conventions with news and updates of all Homeworld games. It started in 2013 and continues to this day. Here is all PAX's conventions. That includes the Homeworld segment in.
Something else happened that some of you guys might know. One of the major publishers went away. Did you guys hear about when THQ is? So that's never good news. But one of the things that happened as a consequence of that is, THQ did have in their possession some great IP, intellectual property for brands and games we love. And one of the brands that was in the THQ stable that they didn't really do anything with for as long as they had it was a brand called Homeworld. Did anybody, yeah. And when THQ started to evaporate, Brian kept coming into my office every day and saying, "Randy, we got to get Homeworld. We got to get that, And so I interacted with the THQ guys, and we became part of that process, bidding on the brand, and eventually Gearbox acquired the Homeworld franchise. So what I wanted to ask Brian to talk about, because what we got was we got the brand, we got the games, and we've got some passion, and it's really directed from Brian. So Brian, tell us about why did we do this? Why did we spend all this money to buy this?
Explain yourself.
Well, I mean, who doesn't love spaceships, right? I mean, they're awesome, and this is one of those games that just for me sort of moved me as a brand. I really was impressed with how both the story, some of the best spaceships I'd ever seen outside of Star Wars, and it was just sort of that part of it that meant something to me. So I really thought that we should kind of get it out there to the rest of the world, and a lot of folks haven't had a chance to play it. It's only been on DVD. Or CD, out there, and so hasn't ever been released digitally. And so I thought that, well, we need to let the world see this. We need to get a lot of people to play it and love it the same way that I have, and a lot of the community that has, especially after we bought it, has reached out. I mean, you can still see that there are people making mods for it. I mean, it's a pretty amazing thing.
So what was the process like? So, I don't know if anybody here has ever, been on an auction acquiring a video game IP before, but that was kind of an interesting experience. So, from your point of view, tell the story. How did that go?
Well, it's sort of a weirdly long process. I mean, you have to go through all this effort to sort of do due diligence on it, look at what assets they have, and they won't really show you anything, so you're kind of guessing as to directory structures and all these kind of things. What are we going to get out of that? And then we're debating, how much do we think it's going to go for? I don't know. What else do you think out of what we did there?
Well, it went in a couple rounds. At the beginning, we put in initial bids, and we had to put money in an escrow account that the people that were auctioning off all of THQ's properties were able to look at and see that we were good for it. We couldn't just raise a card up. Number 23, I say I've got a couple $1 million. No, you had to actually put the money in and show them that you were good for it. And then it got down to about three bidders.
3 bidders, yeah.
And they decided to do a live auction on the telephone. And 2 of the other bidders were publishers, and we were the only developer. So that was really interesting. And we were just stubborn. So.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
Yeah, so we ended up getting it. I felt good about the price we paid for it. It was less than what our CFO was comfortable with, which is always a good sign. So what are we going to do with it, Brian? So then the auction happened. Then how long did it take between when the auction closed and when we got the stuff?
It was another almost a month before we were actually able to get any of the assets. We were able to get a hard drive filled with everything, and then start really doing investigation into how we were going to actually build the game.
So what's our plan?
So our plan is to try to release it on Steam. We're going to upgrade all of the ships, make it look amazing for current day, current gen, because this thing is in some cases Homeworld is 15 years old, so at this point it needs a bit of a fresh coat of paint.
So did you just announce a Homeworld HD?
I might have. And Homeworld 2.
Homeworld and Homeworld 2?
Well, you know, 2 different products.
That's
like
awesome. Brian, I love Homeworld and Homeworld 2. I'm really grateful that you're making a high-definition version of the game. But I like the classic games. How can I get the original, unaltered, unaffected games?
Well, when you buy
Jesus
the
Christ.
HD version, you'll get those too.
So I know, isn't that terrible? We haven't rehearsed this. So Brian wanted to make sure, he wanted to make an awesome version of the game, so he's got a small team at Gearbox working on that. But he also wanted to release the pure versions as well. So when we eventually get that stuff out there on the digital platforms, you'll be able to get a classic, original, unaltered version of Homeworld and Homeworld 2, and you'll also get the HD version. And we've got to figure out what it's going to take to finish all that work and to get it deployed on the digital platforms. But we're doing it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't have happened if Brian didn't make me do it.
Yeah.
You know, after the auction, Alex Garden, he was the founder of Relic, you know, the guy that was behind the Homeworld effort. He called me and he just wanted to tell me how grateful he was that we got it, that a developer got the brand instead of a publisher. And he also pledged help and support. And we've been, Brian's, you know, flown out and met a lot of the guys that worked on the original games, and we've had our hand. And by the way, like, this is ancient code. It's really hard. What do we need? Like, what do we need?
Does anybody out there have a copy of Maya 3? Because
He's not kidding. Anyone
yeah.
that we're streaming this to, if you have a copy of Maya 3, we need the software
please get in
and
touch.
the dongle.
Yeah.
Legitimate.
You guys remember dongles? So that was DRM for commercial software back in the day. So we've been talking about Homeworld for about 20 minutes.
We have 20 minutes left.
Oh, we have 20 minutes. All right. So let's talk about something else. Thanks, Chris. One of the other things that happened recently that some of you guys know about is Gearbox acquired a game franchise that we love that some of you guys might like, Homeworld. And Brian's wearing a shirt. So Brian is one of the owners of Gearbox, one of my partners. We've been together forever. And Brian, not like that.
Well, I mean, a few times.
If it was like that, it would be
Just
totally
once in
fine.
college. It was. Brian loves this game. Brian's, you know, the chief creative officer of Gearbox. He's an artist. He really appreciates what these guys have created. So he really spearheaded the effort. And we announced that we're going to bring Homeworld to digital platforms. We're going to re-release Homeworld 1 and 2 classic versions of the game. We're also creating HD versions. And Brian wanted to give you a look at how that's starting to manifest itself, because we're working on the HD versions of the game. So, Brian, I'm going to show you. You want to talk to this?
Yeah, go forward, Randy. So what we have here is maybe some of you remember some of the animatics that they had in the game, and the game was shipped on a CD, so the animatics were pretty small. They were maybe, I guess, 320 pixels high. So one of the things that we've done to help improve the quality of the game and to make it more beautiful is to up-res these. And so if we go through here, you can...
want me to show you the next one?
Yeah, please show the next one.
So this is what a frame looks like in the classic version.
Currently.
Yeah, and then...
Right. And so this is the scale difference between what we're doing and what it was.
So that center picture shows the relative amount of pixels that was in the classic version, and the larger image shows how many pixels are in the high definition version. And that's what the high definition image looks like now. So it's quite a dramatic difference. And if I go back and forth, you can really see that difference.
Right. So a lot more fidelity. I believe it's 1080, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, okay.
We've also worked on the materials and textures.
So here we have a lot of the ships that are obviously a big part of the game, and the things that we've updated are a lot of the texture res. So originally, I think like the biggest texture in the game was maybe 1080 tall, and that was on the mothership. So now we've quadrupled the size of the textures. They're about 2048 in some of the larger sizes, and so you can kind of see the details here. The normal maps will really pop in space, so you really see them when they kind of get the ships in oblique angles to the sun, and so a lot of the details that were there just through the pixels are now there in something that looks really fully formed and 3D. So it's really beautiful.
Now, I want to remind everybody that in addition to launching the HD version of Homeworld, the classic versions will still be preserved with all of the original assets. But you can see the effort that we're doing here. We're not replacing things. We're going over and making them high definition. And we've been able to collaborate with some people that had worked on the original games. In fact, one of the things that happened right after we acquired the franchise is there's a group that some of you guys might know about, Blackbird Interactive, and they were working on a spiritual successor to Homeworld called Shipbreakers. And Rob Cunningham, the president of Blackbird, was the art director of the original Homeworld games. And these guys had a lot of the source content, and they were able to get with us and give us access to that so that we could do this job. And that interaction led to some other conversations. In fact, it led to, and this came out, there was, I talked about it when I did the opening keynote at PAX Dev on Wednesday, and we did a couple interviews about this. The Shipbreakers game from Blackbird Interactive is now Homeworld Shipbreakers. And so this is a pretty cool thing. And we have the guys from Blackbird are here. I want to introduce them. I want to introduce Rob Cunningham and Aaron Cambeets. Rob and Aaron, are you guys back there? Come on out. How's it going? You can sit down. You can sit down. Oh.
Hello, Cleveland.
How's it going, brother? So, dude, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for
having us here.
Collaborating. So we did a deal recently. Rob and I signed it on Wednesday, and Gearbox is going to let Homeworld be part of their game. Their game is now Homeworld Shipbreakers, and we're also investing a pretty non-trivial amount of money, the millions of dollars necessary for them to realize their vision. So, thanks. Sure. So what do you think? You happy about what we're doing here?
Randy, we couldn't be happier. It's perfect. It's great to be with a team like you guys. It's amazing to be with a community like you guys. We're super excited. We're excited we can finish the game the way we had in mind. We're going to expand the team. So if you're interested, let us know.
In fact, yeah, on blackbirdinteractive.com, there's actually some job openings now. Part of our investment enables them to grow and get some more talent. So if you are a game developer and you love Homeworld and you'd like to help shape its future.
Absolutely. We're also really excited because with this opportunity, we're able to make it a commercial product as opposed to a free-to-play game. So we're pretty excited about that. It's something we know and we're comfortable with, and we think we can do the best job possible to give the entertainment that we know how to do.
We have your trailer. If you guys want,
cool.
You guys want to see what Shipbreakers looks like? Hey, can you guys backstage? Can you roll that? Can we roll that trailer for Shipbreakers?
Base runner, Alpha 1. Go ahead, Alpha 1. We found something. You guys better come out here. Okay then. Time to roll. Escort your spark.
Time.
here.
The signal is clean. No movement.
Definitely the Tosha class raider. Looks to be last entry. Could be the Atosha herself. This thing has been here for a while. Okay, rec scan complete. Let's check the perimeter now. I can never get used to this place. These wrecks creep me out. Escorts to defensive positions. Stand by salvage crew.
Roger that. We're standing by.
Okay, we are beginning our perimeter scan now. Enemy contact. Taking fire. So much for easy money. Prepare for battle.
Cool. So Hardware Shipbreakers is now Homeworld Shipbreakers, and we're going to be really excited to talk more about it in the coming months. We might even tease some more at our community day. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Our
Really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thanks
Looking
very much.
forward to
Thank you
working
very
together.
much, everybody.
Cheers. Those guys were among the founders of Relic. So, think about all the great games that we've gotten because of you guys like Rob and Aaron, and I'm just so excited to be partnered with such talent. So Homeworld, I just wanted to go over it once again. Homeworld 1 and 2 they're coming probably in the first half of 2014. There's going to be the HD and classic versions out there, and we still got some work to do to figure out pricing and launch date. We're not publishers, so this is kind of new to us, so we're figuring this out as we go. Also, Homeworld Shipbreakers is coming, and that's with this partnership with Blackbird Interactive. You can check out their website at blackbirdinteractive.com, and we'll have more information to come there.
So obviously everyone here loves Borderlands, but we did acquire Homeworld last year, and we're doing some updates right today. So we're gonna bring out something like that. We're gonna bring out my boss, Steve Gibson, who is nice and employs me, and I'm gonna say nice things about him. So here's America's most handsome man, Steve Gibson.
I think Steve might be the tallest boss here ever had.
He's absolutely the tallest boss I've ever had.
Oh my God! Did you guys see the picture I tweeted of Steve posing with Handsome Jack? And he was like, look at the gun.
It's the best.
Look at my Twitter.
I make lots of good decisions.
Steve is a great man.
Make your employee get control of his panel, Steve.
Get us under control, buddy.
I'm trying. So tell us about Homeworld. I mean, we haven't heard anything in a while. What's going on?
So so what we did was, as Drew here mentioned, we had some guys at the studio.
Talk into the mic.
We had some guys at home. There's a lot of dudes in here. Look back down. So we had a lot of guys in the studio who were really passionate about Homeworld. Like that had a lot of influence on our industry. It was groundbreaking, right? So when we had found out that it was going to be available, Brian Martell specifically was desperate to get this franchise into a place where we could expect great things to happen for it instead of it getting stuck in a loop of just never moving forward, right? This is a beautiful, wonderful franchise, and we want to see more happen with it. So the partners at Gearbox decided, okay, we're going to spend some money, a lot of money, and we're going to grab the IP, and what we're going to do is the first thing I think everybody wants to see happen is we want to see it available to as many people as possible. Like, this game doesn't, as the state it was, didn't even work on latest Windows. It's not available for digital download. So we're like, okay, let's do that. In addition to that, we've started to work on a remastering of it. This is as true as you can possibly be to the gameplay, while reworking all the visuals. We're replacing the render. Now, by the way, we're replacing the renderer. That's not free, but sorry. We're replacing the render, we're replacing all the assets, working it all over, and actually, let's show them the video. You want to do that?
We're also doing 4K support.
Yeah, 4K support as well.
This is new. So it's
yeah.
going to support, if you have a crazy NVIDIA video card and you have a crazy high fidelity monitor that can do 4K, you can run Homeworld in glorious 4K resolution. It's gonna be amazing. Homeworld Remastered.
All right, so this is a video where we've been talking to the original art director, creative director, design, like all those guys. We've been interacting with all of them. So here's a little bit of what's going on there.
What's exciting about a project like this is the modern capacity for technology to produce the vision that was had.
Homeworld is unlike anything that's out there. It's a game about epic spaceship battles.
The draw of being a people lost from your homeland and journeying across the stars trying to find your true home. There's something so pure and simple about that journey.
It's really of the video game industry. It's a real gamer's game. It was the game that worked. It was the game that lived up to its promise.
I've been a fan of Homeworld since the game came out. At the time, Homeworld was being published by Sierra, and so were we making Opposing Force, and that's how we got our start. Fast forward, nearly 15 years later, there's this opportunity to acquire the brand, and having been a fan, seeing it sit there in languish, I really thought that we needed to make sure that it could happen.
One of Gearbox's first franchises that we created was Brothers in Arms. And there was a mode, if you pause the game, basically, it would go into a situational awareness view where the camera would come back and you could sweep around. So much of how we engineered that and how we controlled the camera, I think, was directly inspired by the experiences I had playing Homeworld. I actually did not put that together until just now, when you asked me that question.
The mothership is standing by.
We launched a website for Homeworld just about, I guess, 6 weeks ago. And on there we had this survey asking you guys about what you would want in a potential collector's edition. And we have a little update about that.
Yeah, so turns out you guys want the coolest thing. So, so we're working on this thing. This will be over a foot tall. It is an irresponsible amount to spend on the collector's edition as far as what we're doing on it. Like, we're hoping we break even on this thing. Is that about right?
We might break even.
We might break even.
Good for you guys.
Yes.
We have a passionate guy who just wants to do.
So this thing is going to be. It will actually have a USB plug where it lights up throughout. Like, this is ridiculous. So the thing that you saw on the website, imagine that, but even a little bit more. The last count I heard was the number of people touching this thing on the assembly line is in the hundreds. It is.
So I've not seen this yet until right now.
Yeah.
And my dick just moved. That is amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we put out the remastered edition that we're hoping a little bit later this year, there's a very limited run of these because, as I mentioned, we're hoping we just break even on this thing. So when we put it up for pre-order with a retailer, you might want to snatch it up because you're only talking a couple of thousand of these things will be available. So probably not even enough for everybody in this room. But we really, really thought that Homeworld never got a collector's edition, right? Never got something like this. And for a franchise so important to our industry, we felt like we had the opportunity to do something to honor that. So that's why we're doing this.
Cool. Awesome. Before we let Steve go, I should also say that, you know, everyone should love him and adore him because he is also the one who always gives out the free stuff in panels, so we love you, Steve.
That's true.
So thank you. All right, awesome. So, you know, another thing that we've talked a lot about at these panels, and we'll do this one pretty quick, I think, today, but we've got Homeworld Remastered, you know, something we've been talking a lot about.
Wow, Homeworld fans, yes. I'm glad to hear that because when THQ went out of business, they auctioned off all their properties, and it surprised us. This incredible game that Relic made and a while back hadn't been given any love at all. It's just been left to languish, and we love Homeworld. And Brian Martell, one of my partners, Executive Vice President at Gearbox and Chief Creative Officer, insisted that we do something. So we grabbed it, we acquired the franchise, and we've been investing in bringing it out. So we've created a remastered high-definition version. We're going to show you what that looks like today. Yeah, so let's go ahead and show you first.
Hold on, but before you do that,
Yeah.
man, I've worked with a lot of teams in my career in development. We have got an awesome band together for this one. You know, have we talked about some of the original guys who are working on this?
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
We've got Ruskay
Paul
doing
Ruskay
audio.
did the
He is
audio.
amazing.
He was on the original team.
Luke Maloney. You know, Luke was one of the co-founders of the studio originally, and he's on it right now, helping. Of all the people as a lead programmer, he knows more about this franchise than anybody. It is amazing.
Yeah, and Rob Cunningham is up at Blackbirds Interactive. He helped us a lot, got us a lot of assets, and Lambeats.
Yep, Lambeats, yep.
These guys built Relic.
Old school Relic guys are all over this. Yeah.
So the idea was, let's get the band back together and let's do it right. Let's take Homeworld into the new generation. So what we've got is we've got a clip that shows you, because we've not merely just created a new engine to make it render in high resolution. We've redone all the graphics. We've also, the guys that made the original cinematics went back with their original source content and redid all the cinematics. So they're in crazy high fidelity right now. So this clip will show you that transition.
The clans were united and a massive colony ship was designed. Construction would take 60 years. It would demand new technologies, new industries, and new sacrifices. The greatest of these was made by the scientist Karen Sajet, who had herself permanently integrated into the colony ship as its living core. She is now Fleet Command.
So that's pretty wild how much it thinks.
We've got a bunch of screenshots too.
Yeah, so for the first time, we're going to show you what Homeworld HD Remastered looks like. This is a screenshot from the game. You can see that there's a lot added to the technology. There's a lot added to the engine, from depth of field blur to more capabilities with visual effects, real-time lighting, dynamic lighting, and an incredible amount of investment into the fidelity of the ships and the characters. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful game. Let's go ahead and slideshow through a couple of these. Looks so good. Look at how much complexity is in Homeworld too. The space combat is just epic.
On your high-res PC monitor, man, this is going to look amazing.
Yeah, look at that. Looks so good. So the game is going to be coming out in a few months. We haven't announced the specific launch date yet, but I'm hoping that by February. We don't have a publisher on this. We're doing this all on our own, and it's kind of new to us. We're not good at marketing and distribution and manufacturing and sales and all that stuff. We're good at making video games. So we're figuring out that stuff. But one thing we've done is we've put together a collector's edition, and I believe that as of today, for the first time, it's available internationally. So if you go to the Amazon.com website, you can get this. Now, we launched the pre-orders in the U.S. for the collector's edition a few months ago, and they sold out immediately. They're all gone. We had another allocation for international. It just went up, but it's going to be short quantity. If you want this, get it now. Now you'll still be able to get the game, of course. You'll buy it on Steam when it comes out, and it'll be modestly priced. But the collector's edition includes the statue that Brian Martell had commissioned, working with David Eddings, who does licensing with us, working with some great sculptors and toy manufacturers to create this 12-inch statue that lights up of the mothership. And it's a beautiful, beautiful statue. We have a couple of prototypes. One's in Brian's office, and I can't wait to get mine when this comes out. So if you want this, check it out. It's on amazon.co.uk right now, and that will ship to Australia.
Yep, and it'll be on Amazon DE and Amazon France pretty soon as well, probably later this week.
Great.
So cool. So we're talking about Borderlands a lot today, but we do have some other IPs that we own. You may remember last year we acquired Homeworld. So we want to give you guys an update on that. To do that, we're going to bring out a man you may recognize as the internet's first professional blogger, Steve Gibson.
Steve, there he is.
What's up, Blog Slice? That's not a good nickname, I'm sorry.
That was so good.
That
was so good.
That email, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was...
Rami's the
wait,
best.
did we learn the right or the wrong lesson there? I'm glad we didn't fix it. Wait, oh, hang on.
So hey, tell us about Homeworld. What's
Yeah.
going on?
All right. So, as you guys know, we got this a little while back, and we announced that we're doing a remastering of it. We thought about first, like, man, we just wanted to get on a modern platform, so we're getting on a digital distribution, all that stuff, and we thought we really wanted to do, let's up-res the textures a bit and all that stuff. And we got really ambitious with it, is what we've done. So what we've now done to this point as well, we started first with just doing textures and models. Turns out we replaced the entire renderer now. We're really excited about where it's going. But we've really gotten more and more into it. Of course, we're taking more time to do it. I wanted to share with you guys today, though, but in addition to redoing the visuals, we are redoing the audio and doing an entire remastering, re-recording all the stuff with the original composers, original voice actors. We're getting the old band back together. So what we're also doing... So what we're also doing, though, is we are redoing the cinematic scenes as well. And that... Uh-oh.
Sorry, this actually is very... Can you bring the house lights over on the left again? Because every time you do this, there's this bandit on the top left here, and he stands up, and I pee a little bit. So...
But it spins,
I just
too.
wanted to share that because I'm terrified.
That's actually Krieg, Mikey. That's Krieg.
Oh,
it's Krieg.
Yeah, but like, look at
what did I
his
say?
axe
I'm so
spins
scared.
and lights up. It's incredible.
It's Krieg. Sorry. Hello, Krieg. Hello. Continue terrifying me at your leisure.
Thank you. I love, as a moderator, I love interruptions like that. Yeah. As a moderator, I love interruptions like that.
Thanks for keeping us on track.
Yeah.
There's the time.
There's a clock.
So, Steve, what were you saying about those cinematics?
I was like riveted. I was riveted.
I know. So, I wanted to share with you guys something today, though. We thought about, well, we're in a theater with a fantastic sound, system, so we want to share with you guys some of the audio, and I also wanted to share with you guys what the reworked cinematics are looking like. Give you a little bit of a comparison, just to get an idea of what's happening and why is it taking so long. Well, it's a video game, so of course it's how we do. But give you guys a quick look. So, can somebody play this?
Oh yeah.
The clans were united, and a massive colony ship was designed. Construction would take 60 years. It would demand new technologies, new industries, and new sacrifices. The greatest of these was made by the scientist Karen Sajet, who had herself permanently integrated into the colony ship as its living core. She is now Fleet Command.
So we also, about a month and a half ago, I guess it was, started taking pre-orders for our collector's edition as well.
Yeah, so this is the first time we've ever done anything like this too. Here is the actual, this is the finished version of what we're doing. This is what's going out. Yes. Now, I have some bad news for you guys in the United States. You remember when I, at PAX, was it PAX East? We announced what was going on there. I said there's very few. We've sold through about 95, 98% of these now. So next few days, I expect they'll be gone for all the United States customers. Here's another thing we learned. It's really hard to do international stuff.
Yeah, if anybody's watching the Twitch stream at home and you happen to be overseas, we're sorry, we're figuring out international. We're not publishers.
Yeah, we're clearly not publishers. But we did. We set aside a quantity, and that is still happening. We feel like that's imminent now, but we are learning every day just how hard it is to ship things to, say, France and Spain when you're an American company that doesn't know what the hell it is to publish a game. But we are very close to that, and here is a picture of, this is the actual, oh, by the way, it lights up. Yeah. And, yeah. Oh, and also, I spent a little more money. I made the cable long. I don't know if I told you guys.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's got like a nice 12-foot extended cable. It just plugs into any USB thing. They were going to do it with like a 3-foot thing. I was like, oh. All right, so this will be shipping with the game, and we're hoping to announce the launch date really soon. But as you saw, we are going crazy with remastering of this thing. But you guys will hear more soon.
Yeah, it's a labor of love for my partner, Brian Martell, who's one of the founders and owners of Gearbox. So I don't know if there's any hope of us actually making any profit on this, but I know that if he is happy with the result and he believes that everyone like myself and like him who loves Homeworld feels proud of the result, then it'll be worth it. So we're happy that we're doing this.
This is a precious franchise to our industry. It established a lot of new groundbreaking things in our industry. And we feel how important that is and the pressure of that. We need to do right by this franchise. So we'll do everything we can to make sure it's done well. And I'm really proud of what Martell's doing, what Brian Burleson's doing, all of the guys over at Blackbird Interactive, the former Relic guys. We're getting in touch with everybody. We want to make this thing as authentic as possible and as modernized version of the UI and the graphics that we can for you guys.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hello. How's everybody enjoying PAX South? This show has been awesome. PAX is always great because it's about you guys, the fans, the players, right? It's not about the suits. So we're here today. We're here today to talk about Homeworld. Were any of you at our theater this morning? Cool. Well, we shared some exciting news. We've got a release date for Homeworld Remastered. It's coming out way sooner than I think anyone expected. Just a month away. Up on stage with me, by the way, I'm Chris. I'm product manager at Gearbox Software. Up on stage, I have a wide array of talent, people that created Homeworld and co-founded Relic Entertainment back in the day, people from Gearbox who co-founded Gearbox, and the team that's been working diligently on this for the last 2 years. So before we really hop into it, I just want to show you guys this trailer we debuted this morning.
Rated everyone 10 and up.
standing by.
Today's panel, we're going to show you how something that looked like this now looks like this. So I think we're just going to start going down the line and have everybody introduce themselves. And what was your first experience with Homeworld? Luke, you're up first.
Hi, I'm Luke Maloney. In '97, I co-founded Relic with a couple of people on the stage at the other end there. And yeah, we developed Homeworld from 1997 to 1999. And then in 2003, we launched Homeworld 2. And then in 2013, when I heard Gearbox bought it out, I said, hey guys, need any help?
Hi, I'm Erica Stead. I'm marketing producer at Gearbox Software. And my first Homeworld experience was actually a lot more recent than some people. When I first saw Homeworld Remastered, it was on a giant screen in a conference room at Gearbox. And you know the feeling you get when you look at something huge and beautiful like the Grand Canyon, where it's really beautiful and it almost makes you just a little bit sad? That's how I felt.
Hi, I'm Brian Burleson. I am the producer on the Homeworld remastered game, all the Homeworld games. And my first experience with it was in college. A bunch of guys, we have a room and a LAN party all the time, and so Homeworld made a lot of sense back then. It was really fun. So that was my first introduction to it, and it was just fantastic.
Hi, I'm Brian Martell, Chief Creative Officer of Gearbox. And my first experience was actually when we were promoting Opposing Force at one of the E3s. We saw it on the show floor as the first time that we got to see it. And I was so blown away. I think Randy was there with me, and just impressed from the initial first seeing of it.
I'm Rob Cunningham, one of the co-founders of Relic, along with Luke and Aaron here. Gosh, my first experience with Homeworld was a long time ago. It was in like the springtime of '96, and a friend of ours, Alex Garden, was, I think I was having, 97, was having lunch with Alex, and he was like, dude, let's start a video game company. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And he's like, and I thought, I've got nothing better to do, so I might as well start a video game company. And I said, what are we making? And he's like, it's called Homeworld. It's Battlestar Galactica meets Command and Conquer, and it's all like stuff screwing around and like spaghetti balls and and I thought that was fantastic. I had no idea what he was talking about at all, and thought, let's do this, for sure.
My name is Aaron Kambitz. I'm one of the co-founders of Relic Entertainment and one of the co-founders of Blackbird Entertainment, and I was lead artist on Homeworld. I first heard about Homeworld when my friend Alex Garden took me out for coffee at the local Starbucks in March 1997 to tell me about a game that was called Spaghetti Ball. And it involved, like Rob said, lots of things going much to the amusement of the other patrons at the Starbucks.
Yeah.
And this is the signature effect. And so
that's what sold us.
I knew it was a winner right away.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Evan Gill. I'm one of the artists at Gearbox Software on the Homeworld Remastered team. My first experience was as a customer back in the day, just blowing stuff up with my homies.
So the reason, and we've got a couple more to introduce to you, but they're hiding behind a PC because in just a few minutes we're going to show you the first ever gameplay.
I'm Dave. I was told to say the Dave, but that's presumptuous, I think, right now. So Shorthand is my first Homeworld experience was 98, 99. It came out, and everyone I knew at the time, actually some ex-Gearbox employees I used to work with, we just went bonkers for it. In terms of what I did on the game, I did graphics and code and audio and tools and stuff.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Fawcett. I'm also an artist and on the Homeworld Remastered. And my first encounter was, I remember seeing the game on the shelf, and I looked at it, I was like, this looks really cool, but it looks so complicated. I thought you had to like type in numbers and stuff because it was a three-dimensional world. And I was like 13, 14 years old, but my first real gameplay experience was a year ago when I got put on the team, and it's just been an amazing adventure, and now it's just such a fun game. I love it. So.
So, hey, Brian.
Yes, Chris?
These guys at Relic, they made this game back in 1999. How did it end up at Gearbox?
Well, let's see. Rob might be able to help me a little with this, but THQ had put it up for auction, and I think you guys had actually made it capable of being by itself, right?
Yeah, the plan was, we knew THQ was going out of business and having a bankruptcy auction, and we knew that the IP was bound up in their asset bundle to be sold along with a whole bunch of other assets. And we knew Relic had just sold to Sega, and we were worried that they would get Homeworld as well, but I was also worried that just any random person would get Homeworld. I think there was a Kickstarter going around for a bunch of guys who were going to buy it, you know, and they had like 50 grand, and I thought, oh my God, you know, we got to do something so that like we get our hands on this thing. So we had it unbundled from the asset pile because we intended to bid on it. I think our opening bid was 260,000, something like that. It didn't work. We didn't get it.
Yeah, I think ours ended up starting at something like 800,000.
Yeah.
Which was...
We were like, we're good, we're out.
It was a little complicated trying to explain this to my partners to say, you know, especially to the CFO. I get this idea. We're going to take this old game. We're going to, you know, sell it. And it's going to be great. And we had no plan really exactly what to do with it. You know, none. And in fact, I mean, we get little glimpses of like what maybe was involved with the code, and it was, you know, clearly a mess by the time we actually got it. But that's kind of how it started, was that way. And then we ended up getting it for, I think something like, was it 1.3? 1.35. Yeah, 1.35 million. We came to work that day on the day of the auction, and we'd had some shirts made up that said "In it to win it," and so there was a certain level of commitment, I think, at that point. I mean, when you make shirts, I mean, it doesn't matter how much you spend, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
So we won.
The day they won, of course, we were all like, "Ah, oh, damn," you know. But the very next day, they called us and like, we got your old game.
Yeah.
What do you think? Can you help us?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, hey Randy, why did you guys get this thing? You know, make RTSs. And he was like, we don't know, man. We're just fans. We just love it. And, you know, and I was like, oh great. So what's the plan? He's like, we got no plan. We got no plan.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
And you guys released a really nice press release, you know, giving us credit for buying it. You know,
well, we were excited because it wasn't bought by a big publisher or you know, some VC group or something. You know?
I think the thing we knew for sure is that what we didn't want to do was just turn it around and just get it out there. I mean, we did want to make sure that everybody had the opportunity who had never seen it to be able to experience it, but we also knew that we kind of needed to do something else with it to really, you know, bring it to modern audiences in a way that had never been seen before. So.
Cool. Well, hey, why don't we take a look at some of that right now?
Scaffold control standing by. All stations green. You're cleared to approach. You got it. Bays 8, 9, and 10 sealed. Scaffold decks A, B, C secure. Decks D and E secure. Scaffold secure. All systems green. Release crew standing by. What a beautiful sight.
This is Fleet Command. Reporting Mothership relaunch status. Command online. Resourcing online. Construction online. Cryogenic subsections A through J online. K through S online. Scaffold control, stand by for alignment. Alignment confirmed. Stand by, release control.
All caliper banks released.
The mothership has cleared the scaffold. We are away. Stand by for command line testing.
Command line green. Initial fleet in position.
Destination canceled.
So that was the opening from Homeworld 1. And what's really cool is we captured that about 20 feet from here last night. And Sean Ahern over in the corner was the one that just cut that all together in the last 40 minutes.
You know, another interesting thing too, so the mothership was remastered over there by Evan, right? And this scaffolding is what Jonathan put together. And Dave, he's the core rendering guy who made the engine do what you saw there.
So in just a second, we're going to hop into a live gameplay match a little bit further on from one of the first missions in the game. What's that, Dave? You're shaking your head and looking really sad at me right now.
Mission 7, NIS?
Mission 7. Okay, but before we get in there, Brian, you want to tell us everything that Homeworld Remastered Collection actually entails?
You should ask that,
Brian.
Hey. All right, so yeah, you actually have the two campaigns, Homeworld 1 and 2, we remastered those. And as a bonus, we actually have the classics, right? And they're pretty much exactly how I remember them, and then when they shipped. And so pretty much all we did was make them run on Windows 7, 8, more modern computers, because that's a big problem trying to run, especially Homeworld 1 on modern computers. You have to go on shady websites and find like DLLs that you don't know about.
Well, and this is the first time that they've become available since their initial retail release, right?
Yeah, it's really exciting to actually get the classics. So if you remember that, and you remember the hardcore, how hard Homeworld 1 was, you can experience that again in classic.
You're welcome.
But Brian, didn't Homeworld 1 and 2 both have multiplayer?
They did, and they also had GameSpy. So we actually had to do a lot of re-engineering for the networking. And so that's one of the things for the multiplayer beta that we're putting on when we release, that everyone who pre-orders the game will get access to. Yep. And it does a lot more than just combine the two games together, the two races, the campaign or the multiplayer modes and maps, and a lot of other stuff that I'll get to a little later.
Yep. And to be clear, so when we launch Homeworld Remastered Collection, February 25th, you're going to be able to, that day, begin playing the multiplayer beta for Homeworld. And it's got, Brian's going to tell you a lot more about it later, but it's back and better than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So why don't we kick it over to some gameplay and actually take a look at Mission 7?
Mission 7, NIS.
Okay.
This is the Garden of Kadesh. For 13 generations we have protected it from the unclean. The tyrannic raiders who came before you refused to join and were punished for this trespass. Like theirs, your ship has already defiled this holy place. If you have come to join, we welcome you, and will spare you your ship until all have disembarked. If you have come to consume the garden, you will be removed at once. What are your intentions?
We were unaware of the significance of this location. We mean no conflict. Please allow us time to repair our engines so that we may withdraw as requested.
If you will not join, then die. There is no withdrawal from the garden.
Delay the attacking ships while Fleet Command charges the hyperdrive module.
All right, I think
We should
we're
have the
going to
range to
switch it
jump
over to
clear.
another map real quick so that a lot of stuff can blow up and it'll look really awesome. But for now, hey, Evan, just out of curiosity, you know off the top of your head how big the texture is for the mothership in terms of file size?
Well, it has a number of textures. It uses multiple 4096s.
So if you just had to guesstimate off the top of your head.
It's about 10 megs.
Okay, 10 megs of textures on the mothership now. Dave, you want to zoom in on the mothership real quick so we can take a look at those?
Aye, aye. How about
Hey, Rob and Aaron, the original mothership.
100K, 100 kilobytes on average. I believe the motherships we were able to go as high as 200K. Every pixel lovingly handcrafted. Artisanal pixels only.
So at this point, I think Dave's going to start queuing up some stuff to blow up. And we're just going to hand it over to the rest of the panel if there's anything they want to talk about in terms of tech changes that have been made or art or... Oh, Dave, if you want to tell us that funny story about how you made lasers actually work in space.
We'll get there.
Destroy enemy motherships.
So one of the things you're noticing right now, the backgrounds, we put a lot of effort of actually remastering those backgrounds. If you remember from the original Homeworld 1 and 2, they were actually just vertex-colored meshes. They weren't actually textures. And so they're really abstract. It was really hard to actually understand some of the detail. It was so fantastically abstract. You kind of get the impression of this like painterly space, right? And so when it came to remastering them, sometimes you didn't exactly know what it was supposed to be exactly, right? And so we worked with Rob and Blackbird, and they actually helped us remaster all the backgrounds for the game.
Reporting.
They're giant textures as well. You want a good video card.
Hey, Brian, this UI looks a little different than what I remember.
Ready.
Well, yes, again. You're doing a lot of work here. I did the code and a lot of the work for the UI. And the aesthetic was helped designed by another artist here at Gearbox, Brian Cousins. And so we remastered it in large part so it can scale up to 4K. Because in Homeworld 2, it's a bar on the bottom that didn't scale. And now you can go really, really high. And you can also scale the UI independently, too. So if you really want to go crazy.
Capital ship.
Wait, 4K? What did the original Homeworld run at?
What was it, 1600 by 1200 was the high? That was the max.
Yeah, 1600 by 1200 was the maximum. 640 by 40 was the default. Everything was authored to run at 640 by 480, so the UI all fit within a little like bit in the middle of the window there. But undocumented feature of Homeworld 1 original is it ran at 320 by 200 quite well, with a high frame rate.
So, Luke, what was it like going back and seeing the code you had written, what, 15 years ago? How much did you hate yourself?
Well, actually, I didn't hate myself very much for the old code. I mean, because Homeworld 1 engine was all written in C, and you know, it's a pretty simple engine, but it did the job at the time. And Homeworld 2 engine was much more sophisticated. And because we took a long time developing it, there's a lot of systems in Homeworld 2 that, you know, we had upgraded during the development of Homeworld 2. And so it was actually a pretty sophisticated engine, and you know, we mostly had to bring a lot of the rendering up to date, and you know, we found a lot of things that broke the game once we started putting Homeworld 1 ships into Homeworld 2 engine. But it's not been too bad. Getting the campaign to work well and feel the same as Homeworld 1 in the Homeworld 2 engine has been quite a lot of work, and there's still a few bugs to fix in that, but it's working pretty well.
All right, we're going to get messy here. I've been letting these guys talk, but we want to see stuff blow up. So let's do that.
What's our damage? Torpedo frigate under attack.
Anyone who's played this game knows about the audio balance where you can come out and hear the larger battle and you can zoom in and hear the individual ships. So we'll focus on some new stuff. Let's see. For example, beams. This battle cruiser is laying into that, I think, carrier in this moment. But in a moment, we'll be able to get him to do a shot across his bow, and you can see that the beams themselves actually cast light across the whole entire playfield. So anything they cross, they light. They're not point lights anymore. You can, yeah, right here. We had this weird conversation one day on a phone call, because this team is highly remote, which we really haven't talked about much, but everyone here is from a completely different geographical location. And we just thought it would be cool to see beams shoot from the ships and actually be beams, and then we did it. I did it, and other people complained about how I did it, so I did it again, and it looked better. Which describes most graphics programming. So yeah, I can't wait for people to get a hold of this and make beams come out of things that shouldn't have beams in them. But let's blow some more stuff up.
Dave, you said you can't wait for people to get their hands on it and make things happen. Brian, that sounds like mod support.
We've done quite a bit with the mod support. There's a lot of awesome. When we got the game, we didn't have all the tools. Not all the tools worked, and so we actually looked at the mod community to see what they had been using to actually edit the game. And so tools like CF Hotend was like one of the things we started to pull things apart. And then over time, we developed our own tools to actually be able to do more than what anyone in the community could ever do. Not only that, but we also got in contact with a lot of people in the mod community to help us actually remaster the game. And so some of the core members of the team actually came from the mod community. So, one of the guys, Agostino Bocci, one of the complex mod guys, he's one of the core members for the design aspects. And so when you actually have someone who's been modding the game for so many years get involved with the creation of the remastered, they can really influence the parts that, you know, they know what modders want. They know what, you know, what they really wish they had back then. And by working with him and the other modders, we were able to actually add those things for the modders for the future stuff, which is really super exciting. But actually, Luke has some cool stories about modders as well. Because we really care about that, and a lot of the features we do, when we have conversations, we say, well, how are the modders going to use this? And that's really important to us. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of that. The mod community is great, and mod support is really important for the game's longevity, and I'm really happy that under Gearbox's supervision, it looks like Homeworld's going to have a very, very long life. I don't know if the other project's going to be talked about, but there's other projects. in the franchise, but the Homeworld itself is going to have a very long life because we're going to continue to support it, and we're going to continue to support the mod community. What with Steam Workshop it's called. So if anybody here wants to become a mod, or if you have your favorite mod you want to do, please do it, and you can even make a few bucks doing it, as I understand. But yeah, also supporting the mod community is great for developing good code because you know that your stuff is going to get looked at and going to get used and going to get hammered on by people outside of your development environment. So it's a bit of a sword of Damocles. Helps you do a good job.
So talking about live updates and longevity, oh man.
Mission accomplished.
Look at that debris. Oh, Dave, you won. What was it?
How did that happen?
Can we do it again?
Go again.
So, Brian, you want to tell us a little bit about the Steam multiplayer beta that's going to be starting on February 25th? Why a beta?
Oh, wow. So it's funny when you actually make one of the biggest additions we've done to the franchise when it comes to the multiplayer aspect is we merged the Homeworld 1 races and the Homeworld 2 races so they can fight together in multiplayer and against each other. So if you want to play Homeworld 1, the Kushin against the Vaegir, by all means. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. And the balance on that's actually really tricky. And we want to really make sure that when we get that out there, we have hundreds of people who play it now. We would like to have hundreds of thousands of people to play it to actually hammer out those details. And we really want to make sure that it feels fair, and that's really important.
Yeah, so what we're going to be doing is we've been play testing this as much as we can inside Gearbox. Lots and lots, hundreds of matches. But for all the matches we've played, I'm going to guess within the first hour that this game's available, there'll be more multiplayer matches played than we have.
Easily. Oh, I forgot this. This is really fun. In Homeworld 2, your max number of players in multiplayer was 6. In Homeworld 1, it was 8. Well, we made it so that it's now 8 and remastered, so you can actually get giant battles like that again.
We're coming home.
Yeah, it's too many arguments.
And what about the netcode? I mean, you talked about GameSpy there, and I think if you're not familiar with GameSpy, it was a matchmaking service back in the day that is now defunct. So all the games that had GameSpy can no longer be played online. So.
Yeah, that's fun when you have to rewrite the networking. So it works okay, and we want to make sure we want to really brute force, get as many people to play it to find all the kinks in it, to make sure that as a competitive game, you're getting into matches and you have the opportunity to win without getting disconnected. That was one of when we read one of the forums for Homeworld 2, and you saw some of the complaints people had. There's a really bad out of sync problem, and there's all kinds of weird voodoo ways to get around it. But we've been spending a lot of time trying to get rid of those problems, and some of those problems are just inherent to the game. But we've been hammering on that for since the start of the project to try to fix those problems. So for the beta, getting your guys' help to actually hammer on this even more is super important for the stability and the competitive nature of this game.
This is a chance for the players to actually shape where it goes. I mean, if something's overbalanced or.
Oh yeah, if you want a salvage Corvette to deal with the Vaegir properly, and move them around the map, that's really good that you actually have that look right and you play right. And so yeah.
Also in multiplayer, I guess Boki from he's from the Homeworld 2 Complex team. He's on the project now, and he's kind of put in a number of his favorite multiplayer features into remastered. So we've got some new multiplayer features which weren't in Homeworld 1 or Homeworld 2, and so we've balanced those as best we can. But again, we need to get a lot more people playing the multiplayer before those are perfectly balanced, to be honest. They're really wonderful. I hope you all enjoy relics that we put in the game.
So what you just saw there, Dave fast-forwarded time a little bit to make stuff blow up faster.
Keeping it interesting.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Aaron.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, what's it like seeing this?
Well, to be honest, I mean, what's up on the screen is well above and beyond what we ever expected anyone would do with a re-release. But I think really, for me, the action's in front of the screen. I can't believe that after all these years, there's still a community of people who are excited and interested in this game. And I see in the front row and here on stage, I can't believe that there's a community of people who are interested in carrying the game forward in time. I mean, it's been a long road for me. I mean, I've been on and off the game for 17 years now. And if you'd asked me 17 years ago if I felt that I'd be looking at a room, 15 years later, at a room full of faces of people eagerly awaiting the re-release of this game, I never would have believed it. So I'm frankly really humbled by that, and I want to thank you all here, and I want to thank Gearbox for being such great stewards of the project as well. So thanks, everybody. When I do look at the screen, I think, oh, holy shit.
So in Homeworld 1, who did the illustrations for the animatics?
That would be me.
In Homeworld Remastered, who did the animation? Who did the illustrations for the animatics?
That would be me. With the assistance of Brendan Mascott and Cody Kenworthy, two of the great artists we have at BBI. So the three of us, we redid it shot by shot. I had the original artwork, but I didn't have the original 640 by 480 Photoshop files for coloring them in black and white. So we actually rebuilt them shot by shot, and I resisted the urge to sort of play George Lucas and do the things I wished I could have done. I tried to stay true to the shots.
No. Aaron, come on. I noticed you put that little piece of glass around the guide stone.
If you don't like what I did, remember the classic editions are also still available.
He's trying to salvage me.
So, just for fun's sake, hey Brian Burleson.
Oh God.
This is one of those fun things we have in the office. Hey Brian, 4 people put up their heads.
We have a lot of Brians.
And Chris's.
I got Jack.
So, Mr. Burleson, how big was Homeworld 1 and 2 back in the day?
Oh God, it was CDs, right? That's what you had.
God, I'm so sick.
Not a lot. I think at most 1.2 gigs if you put both CDs together. A lot.
And Luke was telling me that way back when, they didn't even install to the hard drive. They streamed off the CD, so they were ultra compressed.
Crunchy. Yeah.
Just how big is Homeworld Remastered Collection?
Oh God, it's like almost 20 gigs right now.
And that includes completely redone audio, completely remastered and remixed, right?
Oh yeah. Do you want to tell the Ruskay story, Mr. Luke?
Yeah, Paul Ruskay was the audio director on Homeworld 1 and Homeworld 2. He can't be here, unfortunately, but it's a really cool story about how when Gearbox bought Homeworld, they didn't have the original audio recordings, so they went to Paul Ruskay and said, hey, do you have any audio recordings? He's like, well, actually, I have all the DATs. He actually went into like some attic he had, and he pulled out a box of DAT tapes, which are recorded at 48 kilohertz, so actually pretty high quality, and he's able to remaster all the original music recordings. If you don't know, the Homeworld 1 and 2 used a frequency domain like sound engine, which is pretty high tech for its time, but it was compressed at a rate, to represent the size of the install that was quite small. So there was a lot of compression on them. So he was able to remaster them at a much higher bit rate for the new engine. Plus, another thing, anecdote I quite like is that you remember the actress who played the mothership in Homeworld 1, Karen Sajette? Her name is Heidi, and she worked with me at a company, and she wasn't a professional voice actor, but I said, you have to get Heidi, you have to rehearse her. And they're like, oh no, she's not an actress, we can't get her. I said, no, just listen to her. And so I remember Rob coming back from the recording session, he's like, holy crap, man. Heidi's just blinding result. And so she ended up being the actress, but when we did Homeworld 2, we got her in the studio again to record her, but she was 9 months pregnant, and she couldn't deliver the lines. Her voice was different and everything. So we kind of had to scramble to get another voice actress who was quite good, but she's not the same actress. So we're actually quite happy to be able to get her back in the studio because Paul Ruskay is friends with her and Fleet Intel as well. We got him back as well. And we were able to record all the original lines we wanted with these actors, plus the additional lines we've added for remastered. So we got the original actresses, and they sound great. Actors.
Dave, Jonathan, you guys want to tell us something about what we're seeing here as we watch stuff blow up and it's awesome?
Me repeatedly blow the same stuff up, and then some guy jacked my battlecruiser.
Maybe don't let that happen.
I was just listening to these amazing anecdotes that are so interesting.
So Evan, tell me a little bit about what you've been doing and your favorite part about Homeworld Remastered.
Well, yeah, Dave, if you want to maybe give this a pause and just kind of look at some of the ships a little bit.
You tell me, sir.
Yeah, I mean, just hop on the carrier or whatever. So, one of our, one of our big goals for this was to really, when you play a game and some time goes by and you have a lot of fond memories of that experience, and then you go back and play the thing and it's not quite exactly how you remembered it in your mind's eye, right? We really didn't. We wanted to go for what your mind's eye, like what you imagined a Homeworld would be, back in the day when you first experienced it. So, we didn't want to go in and add all this extra crazy stuff to things. We wanted it to be Homeworld. So we basically, each of these textures, we come through and we hand trace everything that was on the original texture source. We ended up hand making all new normal maps for everything. Everything has specular and reflection to it. It has blurry and soft and sharp reflections. So everything gets an environment map. Everything is up to modern spec, standards. So it's our job in a lot of ways was pretty easy because we had such great source material to work with. So it's kind of hard to go wrong there, but at the end of the day, it's definitely a labor of love of just all the intricate detail of all these ships, just trying to capture it and, some of the stuff well, what were they trying to do there? And it was awesome because we got to talk to the guys. It's like, hey, what did you have in mind for this part that maybe was a little fuzzier than, it's kind of hard to tell what you're going for here. And then, they could tell us and we're like, oh, sweet.
Yeah. By the way, I think
carry on.
I think Rob's doing that right now to Brian. I saw him whispering in his ear. Jonathan, what about you, man?
Well, let's see. Which one did I do in this scene? I actually had more of the privilege of getting to do the Homeworld 1 ships. And with those it wasn't we couldn't exactly trace all the exact same detail from the Homeworld 1 and just add it to the remastered because the information just wasn't there. So, but thankfully we had all the amazing concept art, the original art, and we can just kind of go off of that and really build what their initial vision was for Homeworld 1. And so we stayed as true as possible to that, while at the same time still keeping the original intentions of Homeworld 1. So that was definitely awesome to get to do. But yeah, I don't think there's really anything here that I did.
Point me to a map that we can show.
Jonathan's the Tidan owner, so a lot of those ships, when you see them when it comes out, that guy.
Right. We're going to go live here and just go way off script, and we'll see what happens. You guys saw Dave made this decision, not me.
These are debug maps.
Hey, Erica.
So real fast, a lot of the design stuff too, we worked a lot on the concepts and what some of the original intention was. But working with Rob and Aaron to actually direct what some of that detail, what I was missing was really big. And we're still tweaking things, we're still polishing stuff. And so when Rob leans over and whispers to Martel's ear, that's feedback we're still taking and keep working on.
This is the first time we have ever shown this to anyone outside of Gearbox.
Clipping.
Flagship underway.
Sorry, they're spawning over each other.
So Erica, you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing on Homeworld and how that's affected things at Gearbox?
Well, I deal mostly in the moving about of assets, delivering assets for things like art books or mothership replicas, things like that, and showing the revisions to Brian and all the other interested parties to make sure that the products that we're putting in the collector's edition are, living up to the vision that they have.
Wait, collector's edition?
Oh no, was that a leak?
No, I think that's the opposite of a leak. So a year ago, we opened up pre-orders on Amazon for a collector's edition. Has a replica mothership, and it sold out so amazingly fast. So what else? I think our artists have eye problems now because of some of this?
Yeah, we actually, in our marketing office, we actually had to upgrade some hardware just for Homeworld. Some of our marketing artists now have 4K monitors so that we can capture in 4K. They have no complaints about that.
Some of our artists also haven't figured out how to turn text size up from Windows default.
Yes. And I feel like since I work mostly with helping you guys experience the game and not directly on the game, I feel like I can really fangirl for a minute here. I feel like that's okay. When talking about making the remastered version live up to your mind's eye, I'm somewhat of a newer Homeworld player, and so I don't have that mind's eye, but I still think that it allows me to appreciate the historical significance of the game and the way that I imagine players must have felt it at the time. Like, historically, I know how significant it is that Homeworld allowed you to move around in 3D space.
Destination locked in.
When I'm in the remastered edition, I still feel the impact of moving around in 3D space, and I think that's awesome.
I think, on a selfish note, one of the coolest things to me is Remastered Edition just feels like a game that's coming out this year.
Yeah, it really does.
It plays like a game that's coming out this year. It looks like it. So one thing you mentioned, though, Erica, and Brian, I think you can really speak to this. She mentioned an art book.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've actually talked about that.
Oh yeah, we've so in the collection edition there's a little art book, but we also made a really big art book. And so a company, Blue Canvas and Section Studios actually helped put that together for us. And so it is amazingly sexy because we got the original illustrations from Aaron and Rob, and we scanned them in at like 600 DPI.
Yeah.
And that's part of that art book.
Yeah, we were chasing them for months, being like, hey, can you find these original illustrations? And Rob's telling us, I'll go check in my garage. We're just like, what? And we get this thing, and you expect it to be this giant, like, boxes of boxes, and you see the stack of paper, and you realize that's where it all came from. And the art book itself, it'll be up for pre-order soon on Amazon, but it's huge, and it's hardcover, all that stuff.
It's pretty sexy. It's ridiculous. Like, one of the things at Gearbox we'd love to do is some things, like, cool things should exist, right? And so whatever we can do to make cool things exist, we do that, right? That's the passion that we have for this, for at Gearbox and for this product specifically.
And I think one of the fun things, go off-brand for just a second, with Mr. Martel. You can tell us a little bit about how making that Homeworld Collector's Edition and that Mothership replica impacted some other things we were working on.
Ah, yes. So, we were working with Idea Planet on for the collector's edition, and they were really such an amazing help. This is the first time we've ever put anything like this together that wasn't, that was solely us doing it, and obviously helped us to, figure out how to engineer, the mothership to look like it did, to get it painted properly, and light up, and do all the cool things that it does, but also the packaging and all those things. And later, they even helped us do the Claptrap, the new version of the Claptrap Collector's Edition, and for the Handsome Collection. And those guys are just, unbelievable in helping us to do these kind of crazy engineering feats that, in no time.
Well, yeah, what was the story? We finished up the Homeworld mothership,
yep.
And they came to us and were like, by the way, we're not sure what you're doing with Borderlands, but
we got an idea.
Yeah.
We think we can make Claptrap work. And
we're
so
like,
sure enough.
we laughed. We're like, cool. That'd
Give it
be
a
awesome.
try.
Go for it.
Yeah. And sure enough.
Then they did it.
It's like a small miracle.
Cool.
One thing, I'm a real big art nerd. I read comic books constantly. I think one of my biggest budgets that I have is actually comic books. So back in the day, I was art producer on Borderlands 1 when we did the art change. And so we had to do a whole lot of art in a very small time. And the passion that it requires and like the care to actually do a really good job and give something style and personality, but defer to the artists and that type of loyalty to your team to make sure that you're really doing a good job for them. And as a producer, you have an opportunity to do that. And so for this game specifically, I always loved the art style, and I always was really amazed by what Aaron and Rob did way back in the day, because it was so iconic for video games. But it's kind of like it's based on some of the old '70s, space, pulp magazines and comics and stuff. And so like being an art nerd and having this idea that I can work on this game to actually try to accomplish what their vision was like a total trip. And so like it's as a producer, like working on art and being a producer for artists is kind of like one of my passions and one of my dreams.
Brian just asked me and Aaron to share a little bit of the inspiration behind the art style of the game. Do you want to start with the ships? So Aaron and I were influenced mainly by the art style, the sci-fi art style of the novel covers of the 70s. So Chris Voss, Peter Elson, also some of the fantasy illustrators like John Harris back in the day. They did these incredible ships that were brightly colored with all this sort of medieval pageantry and just covered in decals. At the time, Star Wars was more or less the sort of pinnacle of sci-fi look and feel, but of course the ships were incredible, but they were all gray, there wasn't a lot of color on these things. So one of the things we wanted to do was to really get these things to be very bright and colorful and covered in decals, and Aaron really led that effort. It was quite successful. On the background side, I was at the time and still am an amateur astronomer, and I thought, if we're going across the galaxy, it would be great if you went from the outside of the galaxy deep into the inside, so you could really get a sense of the three-dimensional structure of the galaxy. So all of the backgrounds were designed to have this sort of colorful galactic horizon the whole time, which helped out as well because of the orientation issues. Like, we were worried because the game was in 3D that players would get lost in space and the camera would mess them up, and so we were constantly worrying about creating visual references that were both vertical and horizontal. So you get a lot of vertical designs in the ships and a lot of horizontal background elements to help orient the camera and orient the players.
Cool. Well, hey, we're just about out of time, but Rob, Aaron, I want to ask you a question real quick, but Brian, I think you had something first.
Oh yeah, we also, for the soundtrack, Paul Reske remastered all the music again, and so we're also going to have the soundtrack available at some time in the future.
That's sweet.
So Homeworld Remastered Collection comes out February 25th, but Rob, Aaron, even before Gearbox got the Homeworld IP, you guys were working on something that looked awfully similar to Homeworld.
That's right. Yeah, so after leaving Relic, Aaron and I formed Blackbird Interactive and started building a game on the ground on a desert planet with, it was a science fiction game with huge vehicles that, met shipwrecks and wrecks and did resourcing in a giant desert. And we wanted to make this game. We wanted to make this vast desert, and we loved the style of Homeworld, and so we wanted to kind of pursue that a bit more. And so, by the time the Homeworld IP went to Gearbox, this thing we had been building called Hardware was already kind of like half built and, looked a great deal like Homeworld. Yeah, I mean, in fact, it looked so much like Homeworld that we were a little bit worried that whoever got the Homeworld IP would immediately sue us for copyright infringement.
I think even the logo
yeah, the title was the same font, same, and that wasn't a big decision. I mean, at the time we just thought, it's just placeholder. We'll just change it later. We'll just stick it in the Homeworld font and it'll be fine. No one will see it. And then of course it was like, oh.
When I wrote early versions of the storyline for Shipbreakers, unbeknownst to Rob, I was actually trying to keep it in line with the Homeworld canon. I thought, wouldn't it be great if, when THQ finally goes belly up, we could buy the IP and make our game a prequel. And so when these guys called and said, hey, what do you think about Shipbreakers being like a prequel? It was like,
ooh, that's convenient.
Nobody knew that I had done this, so they were like, "Oh, that could be hard. We'll take a couple of weeks to see if we can get that to work, and we'll get back to you." And then they came to me and said, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "The notes are here." It took like 5 minutes.
Like done.
I know, but we still booked a whole weekend at Rob's cabin to work on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good weekend. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So Homeworld Remastered, February 25th. Homeworld Shipbreakers, these guys up at Blackbird are working on it right now. We're really excited to share more about it in the future. So can we close out with a giant explosion?
No, unfortunately. So they killed all my guys. Oh,
They killed all your guys?
Mothership.
They're saying scuttle the mothership.
You guys are cruel.
Blasphemy. All right. Well, let's give it up for Dave. Thanks, everyone, for coming out.
Oh, sure. So we've been at this for a little while now, and innocently enough, one day we saw Homeworld was out there, and we were like, you know what? That's an awesome franchise. We want to make sure that more people get to play that. So it started simply enough of we decided to get Homeworld and remaster it and put it out on Steam and see how it goes. And it went really, really well. It was a lot of fun, and tons of new gamers were introduced to a wonderful franchise, and we were thrilled about that. So much so that we decided to create a new entry into Homeworld, and that was Homeworld Desert of Karak. And that was going great. We worked with our friends over at Blackbird Interactive up in Vancouver, and a lot of people got to try, for the first time in a long time, a new piece of content for the Homeworld universe. And it also went great. Couldn't believe it. And we were having such a great time with this. And I was like, well, man, it's pretty fun, publishing games for, other people. And it's really fun doing all this. So we started thinking about
Recon team, stand by for gate sequence initiation.
Copy that. Mass distribution nominal, approach vector clean. All systems green.
Watch drift. Jump formation locked in.
Gate sequence start. Quantum waveform detected. Jump gate online.
Commit systems enabled.
Here we go. Jump commit in 3, 2, 1.
Please welcome back to the stage from Gearbox Publishing, Steve Gibson, and from Blackbird Interactive, Rob Cunningham.
hello, everyone. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and it is my profound honor to announce today that, thanks to Gearbox Publishing, Blackbird Interactive is making Homeworld 3, finally. To say that we're excited about this project is just a ridiculous understatement. And let me tell you why. Next month is the 20th anniversary of the first title in this franchise. And when we made Homeworld in '99, we thought the big deal was going to be that it was 3D, not 2D. So it kind of tells you how far we've come as an industry since then. But we were actually completely wrong. The big deal with Homeworld was not that it was 3D. The big deal with Homeworld was the way it resonated with the fans, that the way it affected them, and the feedback that we've had over the years, the fan mail, the fan fiction, the fan art. In particular, the letters that people have written to us, the personal letters that they've written to us. They've taken the time to articulate why they connected with it, how it resonated with them, and how it inspired them. So, it was that emotional connection that mattered to us, and it really touched us. And, much more than an artistic or technical achievement, which is, of course, so quickly, blown away by the next amazing thing. So when the opportunity came with Steve and his team to make Homeworld 3 finally, we thought, what are we going to do here? And we thought, obviously what we're going to do is make this thing an absolute love letter to the Homeworld fans that have been wanting this thing for so long, and give them exactly what they want. And we know exactly what the Homeworld fans want. They want just massive spaceships fighting it out in space, epic fleet combat on a massive scale. They want gorgeous, spectacular, immersive environments. They want a story that follows the story of Homeworld 2 in a satisfying way that is true to the spirit of the original game and true to its roots. And most of all, they want that special sort of Homeworld tone and vibe that the brand is known for. So, we're going to do all these things, and then we're like, okay, well, how are we going to do that? And the way we're going to do that is by putting together an absolute perfect team of individuals, of talents, who have the chemistry, the history, the familiarity with the IP to pull this off. So we're talking about concept director Aaron Kambitz, who was the original lead artist on the Homeworld games. We're talking about Paul Ruskay, audio composer. Paul's done all the music on every Homeworld game ever made. He's going to be doing the music on this too. And of course, Rory Maguire and the development team at Blackbird Interactive, many of whom are Homeworld development franchise veterans. So, I think with this perfect team of individuals, we can deliver a worthy and authentic sequel into the franchise that the fans, want, they expect, and Lord knows they deserve. So thank you to Steve and his team at Gearbox Publishing for making this happen. Huge thank you and much love to the Homeworld fans and the fan community. And thank you guys here at PAX today. Thanks very much.
Man, Rob covered a lot of it. It is much like it is for Rob. This is a labor of passion for us at Gearbox. This franchise, Homeworld, is the reason that we got into the world of becoming a publisher and got into the world of helping other developers bring their games in front of so many people. We owe this to the franchise. We owe this to the Homeworld community. We have to do this. And as part of that, we decided actually to do an open development and publishing schedule where you see on the URL behind me or wherever you're looking at it. We did a partnership with Fig. Now, Fig has a bunch of tools that help you communicate and tell everybody how this is going else. It also allows people to get in if they actually wish to invest into the financial future of the game, and you can actually get a reward on that. Because really, it's about giving back to the franchise that they gave us so much, and we are just thrilled to death to be a part of the Homeworld IP. And in fact, we want to do more with Homeworld, so we're going to do that too. So we're doing one more thing. We're doing Homeworld on mobile as well. Now, it's a separate game being made by our friends over at Stratosphere Games, and it's going to be actually coming out next year. And we decided that anybody who participates in the Fig campaign that Rob's got going over at Fig, they're also going to be the first guys to get to play Homeworld Mobile when it comes out next year. And we have a cute little teaser for you guys to check out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Now, just at last PAX, we announced something else. Homeworld 3. Take a look. All right, want me to bring Rob out? Hey. All right, well, we'll start with, I'm going to bring out Rob Cunningham, founder and CEO of Blackbird Interactive. We're working together with Rob and his team to bring Homeworld 3 to the world. Rob, you want to come join me?
Hey, guys. Hey, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
It was a short video.
Yeah, it was great.
Thanks for having us here. Thanks for having me here. My mind is still blown about what happened on stage 5 minutes ago with Mike and Gina, I think it was. Congratulations, you guys. We were watching from the back. Yeah.
I thought she knew. I thought for sure she'd know. She did not know.
I was watching the monitors in the back, and I was like, fuck, is this actually happening? and she's like, the same thing, and I'm like, please say yes.
Yeah.
This is totally a fail video happening right now.
We were going to get drinks. If she said no, we had a bet. We were going to...
But that was legit. When they went backstage, they were sobbing and hugging. And
so good.
Randy was right in there with the sobbing and the hugging. So, so thank God that went well. The team back in Vancouver are working on Homeworld 3. They're super excited. For the first time in my career, this is a team that's actually ahead of schedule.
Oh, man.
Which is surreal. Like, that's surreal. Just about a month ago, we were down in Texas visiting with these guys and showing them the first playable build, which, of course, as most of you know, is an early milestone in a game's development. And it's really meant to be an unglamorous, sort of rudimentary demonstration of gameplay and environment. And the Gearbox team were in there, and the Blackbird team were in there, and Randy and Steve was in there, and everyone was ready to go. And the game fired up, and from the first frame, with the sound and the look, it was just dripping with flavor and Homeworld 3-ness. And we were all so excited, and it went really well. There were no crashes. It was fantastic. The ships were exploding and blowing up. A massive cruiser comes out of the shadow of a big derelict covered in lights. Randy starts swearing, and like soiling his trousers. It went really, really well, so we're super excited. So thanks for the FIG campaign. I think Steve's going to talk a little bit about that in a second.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the supporters of that campaign, all the Homeworld fans, and all of you guys right here today. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
All right. All right. Now imagine you've been wowed by a trailer, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. And in fact, actually, so at last PAX, we announced not only are we putting together Homeworld 3 with Rob and his team, we also decided to do this in collaboration with the FIG folks. Now, what's special about that is it is an open communication and development process. There will be updates happening regularly about how things are going, like Rob told you here. There's a new update coming out in March, and what you can do with FIG is you can actually sign up, and you can participate in the success of the game. In fact, when we opened the campaign, it's already brought in over $1.5 million of people betting into, they think Homeworld 3 is going to work out. Rob said it's going to work out. So, what is also interesting, though, is weirdly enough, the backer has set a record with the FIG campaign. It is actually the largest ever average investment per backer. Now, this thing is still open. We still would love for more of you folks to come on board and actually learn more about how the game's progressing. You can actually offer feedback to the team, and they're actually affecting the game as it develops, although it's ahead of schedule at the moment. It is video games, but it's going really, really well, and we're really thrilled, and we want you guys to actually participate in the FIG campaign, and you can affect how what things are prioritized with story and campaign and multiplayer and all those different components we're thinking about. Now, one other really interesting fact about the FIG campaign is those people who are in or wish to jump in, we also announced that we're going to bring Homeworld to mobile. Now, last PAX, we said it's going to be on a phone. I can confirm it is on a phone, and we have a trailer now to prove to you. Take a look. Maybe we'll have a trailer.
Hyperspace jump complete.
Strike group moving into position. I've taken a hit. Getting banged around here. Weapon set to full power.
The Homeworld game started in the mid-90s. It would be the first ever truly 3D RTS. So that was a big deal in, the late 90s.
This franchise has been around for so long. Here we are years later, and we keep looking at like, well, Homeworld 3, this has to happen.
Welcome to the Homeworld Diner. Our special today is the dessert of carrot.
A really unique tone and vibe and feel to Homeworld that hasn't been emulated since. It's not a prequel, it's not a remaster, it is Homeworld 3. It is the next Homeworld.